All right, Jason, thank you very much. Let's bring in Iowa Congressman Steve King. He has endorsed Donald Trump, cares deeply about immigration, is a hardliner. Congressman, good to have you on News. As always, I see you are seated this morning. Is that because Trump knocked you off your feet by shifting on this issue?
I'm just reclining on my couch this morning and deliberating on the things that have unfolded over the last couple of days on this topic, Chris, and I'm happy to be on this morning on New Day.
So give us some clarity. What is the concern from hardline conservatives like yourself? This was the defining issue. He beat Ted Cruz, whom you had supported before Trump, over the head with this issue. Rubio, Bush, he beat them as weak, saying that you must get rid of all 11 million. I will do that. I will face this monster. I will put together a task force. And now he says, we'll work with them. Does it concern you?
Well, when I first heard this, when he said there certainly could be a softening, that was a shift in a direction that concerned me. There was some language that indicated even more strongly when he indicated that there might be some people that would be allowed to stay. But as I heard the interview with Anderson Cooper that came on just a little bit ago, he said there wouldn't be a legalization. And so I'm happy to hear that. My concern is, of course, the tone, but the very base of Donald Trump, the core of his base, are the people that say we must restore the respect for the rule of law, enforce and secure our borders, and Donald Trump has pounded that drum for a year and a half, and so I'm starting to see him restore that foundation again. I'm glad to hear that, and I want to help him reinforce that position.
Well, I definitely heard him say softening, and then he said, no, I'm actually hardening, but when he talks about the specifics in any way, he seems to be stuck in the middle. Let's play a little bit of sound and get your reaction.
If you haven't committed a crime and you've been here for 15 years and you have a family here, you have a job here, will you be deported?
We're going to see what happens once we strengthen up our border. But there is a very good chance the answer could be yes, we're going to see what happens. Before I do anything, get rid of the bad ones, and there are a lot of them.
Everybody wants to get rid of the criminals who are here illegally. That's never been a subject of much dispute. But the see what happens, that is not the Steve King position.
Well, it's certainly not exactly the Steve King position, but I would say this, that those who are here illegally, that those illegal immigrants, those who cross the border illegally, committed the crime, they are criminals. It's a crime to unlawfully enter America. There's another 40% of them that overstayed their visa. That's a serious misdemeanor. But any of them that worked in America, odds are they committed document fraud, they stole somebody else's or borrowed somebody else's or bought somebody else's identity. Those are crimes too. And so that universe of people who've been here for a long time that haven't committed a crime and been otherwise law-abiding, there isn't much of that universe.
That's
I don't know how you find them.
The way you define it is if you come here and are undocumented, you are de facto illegal, and therefore the entire population would have to go, and that's your position. He seems to be moving off it. That's a political concern. But now let's talk policy for a second, Congressman. Why isn't his position now the better one? Everybody wants to be more reasonable on this issue as you start to get towards the top of the parties. You haven't been. You've wanted to be more hardline, but are you reconsidering that now that you see your nominee reconsidering it? And maybe you should be more open to being more humane, as some would suggest, in dealing with people who are here undocumented.
I'm not changing my position. In fact, I'll push back on this if there happens to be an effort to try to reward people for breaking the law. And I don't think my position is hardline. I think it's prudent. It's prudent to insist on enforcing the law and applying the law. We cannot restore the respect for the rule of law, which is the very center of the immigration position, the importance of this. We can't do that if we reward lawbreakers. So that principle, if you say my heart is soft and I want to help people that I like and I feel compassion for them, if you do that, you're eroding the rule of law. So let's stick with that principle. And I think also, though, that as we go down through this, we enforce the law, we remove the people that are the worst ones, and that'll keep us busy for a long time. And as we work our way through this, there'll be people that'll be lost in the shadows, as others say, down the road, years down the road. And it doesn't trouble me if they live in the shadows and we don't find them. If they're not running contrary to the law. That's what they came here to do, apparently, was to live in the shadows. But that's out on the distance of this thing, perhaps in a second Trump term, but not in the first one.
Well, look, as you know, as you've studied this issue, I would assume Many people are coming here because they want jobs and want a better life, not to live in the shadows. They're forced to live in the shadows because of how the system currently plays. You use the word prudent and imprudent. One could argue that Trump's move on this issue is not just prudent politically, but practically. You can't round up 11 million people. You should be looking to invite people who want to share in the American dream a way to come in. Maybe not as citizens because they entered illegally, but get those tax rolls. Stop just providing services to people that in many cases don't wind up paying in because people of your political disposition don't want to make any allowances for them. Trump is saying, get them paying taxes, get them integrated into the system, work with them. Will you consider those options?
I won't consider legalizing people that are here illegally within the United States of America. There is nothing that prevents them from going home and applying to come back into the United States legally. That is what Trump is saying. But I'm not going to be supporting the legalization of people that are here unlawfully because that is amnesty. And to grant amnesty is to
He says it's not
immigration
amnesty.
Lawbreakers.
He says no amnesty, but they should be paying taxes. We will work with them, but it's not amnesty. So maybe you have a disagreement with him on the definition of amnesty.
Well, I have. If that's his definition of amnesty, and Karl Rove and I have had this disagreement that goes back to at least 2004. And I said to him then, and I continue to say, you cannot redefine amnesty to accommodate for amnesty. You must stick with a definition of amnesty that's legitimate, and that is that we can't be pardoning immigration lawbreakers. In addition to that, we can't be rewarding them with the objective of their violation. If their objective is to live in America in peace and work and raise their family, that's a reward for violating the law. If we do that, we've granted amnesty. It was a mistake for Ronald Reagan to do that in 1986. We've been working to restore the respect for the rule of law ever since then. We've lost a lot of ground over the Obama administration. We must restore it in the next administration. We can do so compassionately, and we can respect the dignity of every human person, and I believe in doing that. But and people come here to this country illegally. They expect to live in the shadows, and we should be incorporating local law enforcement to enforce our immigration law. When people violate laws out on the streets of America, whatever the reason is that we encounter them, then we need to apply the law to them. If we never encounter them out on the streets of America, then chances are that's the filter that allows for law-abiding people to continue beyond here in America.
It will be interesting.
But not with a legal status.
It will be interesting if Donald Trump continues to suggest that he'll work with people who are here illegally, get them on tax rolls, see what happens if they have kids and families and have been here a long time, whether you will continue to endorse him, because that will certainly not be your position. But Steve King, thank you for weighing in early on here. We'll follow it together.
Thank you, Chris. Appreciate it.